I see. So that. Yeah. Megan, I had a.
Call this meeting in order. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Transportation Policy Committee on today's date of Thursday, August 28th at 12:30 p.m. I am Jack Kaufman, Clark County Commissioner. It's my pleasure to serve with you all today and take care of business here for the TPC. So first up, we'll have a roll call. And I want to welcome also those that are online with us today too. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much. We'll start with Bullitt County. Here. Thank you. City of Charlestown. Hello, Cliff. City of Jefferson. Here. City of Jeffersonville. The City of New Albany. Shively. St. Matthews. Here. Clark County. And those here. Floyd County. NDOT. Or NDOT Central Office, excuse me. How about NDOT Seymour?
Haley's here.
Hi.
Julie's here.
Who else is here? Hey, Julie. Jefferson County League of Cities? Sure. Kentucky Transportation Cabinet? See what I got. Louisville Metro Government? I think I just saw an email that came on my screen from Nicole George. So I think
She's trying to get in right now, so she'll be in here in just a second.
Next on the list, where was I? Louisville Regional Airport Authority. Here, Daryl. Anybody from Oldham County on the line? Town of Clarksville. And TARP.
Aida Kopik.
Aida. How about our advisory members? That would include Miss Tanya Hicken from Federal Highways Kentucky. Hello, Tanya. I think I saw you on here a minute ago.
Hello.
That would include Mr. Tom Hall from District 5. Thank you for joining us, Tom. And Planner from APCD. Thank you for joining us, Planner. So we'll certainly have a forum. Just for those, just a little bit of housekeeping. The restrooms down the hall that you might ordinarily use, they're both in service. The ladies' room is new and improved. The men's room is still a little bit under construction, but it still works perfectly fine. And if you choose to use a different one, you can use the ones up front. So just want to let everybody know. So over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Andy. Next is our June TPC meeting minutes. As you all remember, we did not have a meeting in July, so we have the June TPC meeting minutes review and approval. Does anyone have any questions about those or any additions or corrections? If none, then I will entertain a motion to approve the June TPC meeting minutes. Can I have that motion, please?
Motion.
Second. Motion. Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. The minutes are approved for June TPC meeting. Next up is the public comment period. Craig, do you have anything for us there?
No, we did not receive anything prior to the meeting, not seen anything in Q&A, but if anything comes up, I will bring up another business.
Okay, thank you. And public involvement reports.
Yeah.
All right, we will take a look at a couple of months worth of data for the outreach report. First thing up is our website analytics. In June, we had 135 visitors to our main page, and we had 114 visitors to our tip page. Our MTP page saw 105 visitors. In July, we did see a little bit of a drop, but that wasn't too surprising. 116 visitors for our main page, 73 visitors for the tip, and 44 visitors for the MTP page. Social media analytics. Take a look on Facebook. In June, pretty quiet month. Obviously, in the summer, we didn't have a lot going on. It's still good numbers, 811 impressions. Again, Facebook's went through and changed their analytics. They now do reach and interactions. So we have reach at 451, interactions at 12. Best I can gather is that those are likes, shares, comments. That's what considers an interaction. In July, we did see a nice little bump, 11 posts, almost 2,000 impressions, over $1,100 reach and 52 interactions. Instagram, same thing, 44 impressions, 2 interactions in June, but in July saw that nice bump, 691 impressions, 17 interactions. And X, Twitter, 4 posts, 161 impressions in June. Again, a nice little bump in July, 740 impressions. We also had our public comment opportunity for the amendment to the MTP and the TIP. That ran from July 29th through August the 12th. You all received those comments a few weeks ago to review. Did not receive back any feedback from those. In all, we did get 66 total comments. We did on social, our paid targeted advertising saw over 10,000 impressions with 1,800 people being reached. Our organic posting saw over 1,000 impressions. We also did our email campaign through MailChimp, 1,500 recipients, 557 opens, 421 clicked on the link. We also shared flyers throughout to try to gain traction with the MPO libraries, Louisville Metro Council. We did some Chamber of Commerce. We also did some with Center of Neighborhoods, Russell Place of Promise, as well as the Americana Center. We had a public meeting on August the 6th. That was virtual. So what did we hear? Most commented project was the Shelby Park and Smoketown traffic calming project that received 8 comments. Overwhelmingly in favor of it. They pointed out all the crashes and near misses in those areas and the reason for those improvements that are going to be made. They're also hoping to see public input as the project progresses. General comments and themes included protected bike lanes for several of the projects, not in favor of the widening projects. And also one of my favorite comments I think I've ever gotten here in my 5 years here at KIPTA. Somebody was speaking about the River Road bicycle pedestrian improvements and said, very cool, but 20-year timeline is ridiculous. You can birth and raise a whole human being in that time frame. It's one of those ones I enjoyed. We had several events in June and July, Alberta L. Jones Park Day, as well as the Louisville Metro Health Fair and Oldham County Day. That would wrap up my report. Take any questions if anybody has them.
We have any questions? If none, thank you very much, Greg, for that report. Next item on our agenda, item number 5, safe streets and roads for all. And I think Spencer's got something for us on that.
Yep, good afternoon, everyone. While Greg's getting that pulled up, this is kind of the culmination of all of our SS4A planning efforts and the culmination of the project team and KIPTA and all the stakeholders. So, you know, thank you everyone for participating in this, and you'll hear me thank you again at the end, but yeah, we finally got the KIPTA regional, like big overarching SS4A plan. So you all got your all's draft plans at the end of June, but we got the big, KIPTA one, and then Louisville Metro got theirs a few weeks ago as well. It's also online, so on all the links that your all's documents are on, our document is on the same page at the very top. And Rob Fraser is also online if there's any questions that myself or Andy can't answer. So going ahead and throwing it out there. So you can see there's our nice pretty cover. It's about 80 pages. That's what the document ended up being. All of your all's documents should look very similar. They're not all exactly the same because they're tailored to each place. So J-Town has their own and Florida County has their own, etc. But they all follow this general framework. We've got the table of contents, list all the different chapters, the list of figures. Each one has the introduction. That kind of talks about the safe system approach, which we talked about many times throughout the planning process. You'll have the leadership commitment and goal setting. So right now Greg's got the intro on there. So yeah, they gave this documentation out a lot during the process, especially during those first few stakeholder meetings, and we were kind of just learning about, how the safe system approach works and how the SS4A program itself works. The second chapter is the planning structure. So it talks about the regional steering committees, the community leadership meetings and plan review, the safety committee meetings, which you all helped host. That was like the local safety action committees. And then just kind of how TTCC, TPC, and RTC over in the other room interacted with helping create these documents. So go down to page 10, Greg. You'll see that's the safety analysis. So that includes the study area. It includes the crash data. It explains crash severity, and it talks about all the different crash trends. There's lots of really good maps, really good diagrams. It shows things like annual crash trends, crash currents, manner collision, lots of different factors included in the document. We also have a really, really cool dashboard that HDR was showing us how to use just this past week. Me, Andy, Nick, Zach were all in that meeting, just kind of learning how to create more things for this. So like, even though this document itself doesn't change, we can look at a lot more information online. So they built us a dashboard in Microsoft Power BI. And that's how they created a lot of these visuals, but we can create even more. We could, be like, what are the lighting conditions and the car color, we felt like it, what are the driver age and, the environmental roadway conditions. Go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, if I might even issue a challenge for you all as local governments. Which ones of these are most effective for your needs, for your conversations at City Hall or county commissioners? Which ones of these, by saying that, I'm saying which ones do you want Gifted to pursue consistent updates of, right? Because at some point the crash data.
Definitely the car color.
The car color? Okay.
Yeah.
So those yellow hot rods for the Lamborghinis run through St. Matthews. Yeah.
I mean,
Got you.
Yeah, I use that one as an example because they get down really detailed. I mean, basically all the information that were in all the crash reports that the police provide to the state police database is in there. So, I mean, we can get, all the times of day, all types of weather, it's a really, really awesome tool. I mean, I've never used anything like it before. It's really neat that it feels like a piece of like professionally made software. I mean, because it is, but like just made for the kid to read it. So it's really awesome. Yeah, so the chapter 3, that's like a good, 20, 30 pages on just all the data, all the trends. And then in chapter 4, you get the engagement collaboration. That's all the regional steering committee, and what we did during those meetings, the community leadership meetings, the safety committee meetings.
Keep in mind, there's local versions of this in the local plans, to be crystal clear.
And then the public engagement. I feel like the public engagement during this process was really good. Everybody really liked the social pinpoint map. We got like over 1,000 comments from like over 500 individuals. And then all the safety, I went to a lot of this local safety committee meetings. We would like to keep those going in the future. And if you guys need our help to do that, we're more than happy to help. Those seem like they went really well. I remember going to J-Towns and, you get EMS in the room and you get fire in the room. And sometimes you can get people from the school, the school district or board or whatever it's called in your all's localities. But it gets everybody in the room and just, you hear different perspectives that you might not be used to hearing. I think in Board counties, we even got like road maintenance crews in there. Just really good at getting the conversation started and really opened my eyes to some problems that you guys have that aren't always obvious to like planners. Things like I know in Shelby County, it was, the interstate and like no turnarounds and just, wanting to create, like we talked about in the future, creating some kind of plan to help guide traffic, through some of the back roads. There were a lot of good ideas that I hope we build off of that came out of those meetings, and we'll definitely help keep those meetings going. I think those are a really good part of the process that came out of developing the plans for just the local stuff. So then after that chapter, we have the chapter 5 is the policy and process changes. So it just kind of talks about like how this relates to the UTP, the long range plan, KIPTA's complete streets policy. And then the tip and the congestion management process. So they kind of just touch on each of those documents and what they are, just how they relate to, you know, the Safe Streets and Roads for All program and how, you know, safety is involved in everything we do. You know, that's pretty, hope that's apparent, but, yeah, I mean, you know, more than ever, I think we're thinking about the safety aspect of all of the planning process. And the sixth chapter, we got the strategy and project selection, so that kind of shows how we prioritize the different projects and the different intersection segments. They used that EPDO, that equivalent property damage only metric to kind of assign like a dollar value to crashes and fatalities, and that's kind of how they created each of your all's individual high injury networks and the KIPTA overarching one. So, I mean, really, this plan that I'm gonna seek approval for today is it's kind of all of your all's plan put together in one big plan. And, you know, of course, it tends to become a little urban centric and a little Jefferson County centric, but not 100%. I mean, it still highlights different areas around the region in Indiana and in Kentucky, and in, you know, some of the more rural parts of our community where the needs are safety wise. You know, it's not all just dominated by downtown or your most busy roads. There's dangerous parts of our road network that are represented in this as well. So it just kind of goes into the methodology and how they develop those networks. And then also shows like, here's the, you know, you all have your individual high injury networks. Here's KIPTA's high injury network. So a lot of it would be like very similar. You know, the networks that you could pretty much overlap and be like, hey, this is not only on St. Matthew's network, this is also on KIPTA's. Like that's how much of a priority this is. This popped up region wide, not just for St. Matthew's, for example. And then the last chapter is the progress and transparency section. And that looks at annual safety performance measures and project specific performance measures. So kind of how we can track some of this stuff in the future. You know, how we can affect change in the future, you know, how we can see the progress we're making in the region and just like try to make our roadway network safer. There's also different safety countermeasures, different types of improvements, you know, there's recommendations on how we can improve some of these areas. And all of this was developed with everyone's feedback as well. So to create this one, you know, they used all the feedback we got on the local plans to help inform this plan. So, you know, it wasn't just KIPTA and it wasn't just the consultant team. You know, it was everybody in this room and not in this room that helped, you know, really provide all the feedback and all the information we got. And really, you know, sometimes it could be as simple as, oh, hey, that's already built. We don't need to do that. Let's bump that off the high injury network and add the next priority. Or it could be something that we just have no idea of. Oh, you know, maybe we should bump this one up because, you know, our data was 2018 to 22, but I know in the last 3 years, this intersection's been really dangerous because EMS was talking to us and they actually told us we've had this many calls. You know, we got lots of great feedback. I mean, I just want to emphasize, like, you know, very impressed with everybody's, you know, contribution to this plan. And I think, like I said, you guys will make the plans good, and, you know, couldn't ask for a better participation in producing this. So thank you, everyone. Thank you to all the stakeholders and the project team and everyone that helped. You have anything you'd like to add in?
No, I just want to be clear about what we're doing today, and that is to seek approval of the regional document. We definitely want to encourage the local communities to approve those at your local level, whether it's at the fiscal court, county commissioners level, city hall, city council level. That's up to you guys what you do with that. We encourage it, and if you need Spencer or myself to come and present it to them and talk them through it, we'd be happy to do so. Because whatever it takes to keep the momentum that's been built, keep it going, is definitely what we're interested in doing here. So
yeah, I think everyone already did the hard part. That was, I think, almost every community, if not every community, adopted the Vision Zero statement. So this would just be kind of building like the last thing, you know, adopting your local plan in your community, but you've already adopted part of it in a sense. You know, near the front of every document, you'll see like, you know, like we have the resolution here with our Vision Bureau statement, but all the individual estimates have your all's resolutions as well. I think the other thing too to mention is the goal of this is this, or in springtime next year, you know, February, March, April, and in the lead up to that, to apply for SS4 implementation grants. You know, so we definitely we'll reach out to you all and try to set something up with everyone. But you all can also reach out to us, and you know, if you see something on your high-end network, like one of your intersections, one of your segments, and say, hey, that's a really big priority in my community, we want to try to go after one of those SS4 implementation grants next year, next March, April, May, when the NOFO opens up. You know, now we have the plan, which is what you needed to apply for one, and we can help, you know, if you guys apply for that, so.
There is a question.
Yes, we did have a question online just asking about whether this data is available. And I answered that gentleman, with the website, but just so everybody else knows, it's www.kiptatransportation.org/SS4A. I'll put that in the chat as well. But yeah, that's how you access the main plan as well as all the jurisdictions plans.
The data that, the data that was transferred recently, and the data that's the nitty gritty of it, some of that is not shareable, given the agreements to access and utilize the Kentucky Transportation, the Kentucky State Police maintain statewide database. And so we hope to be able to post more of those dashboards and some of that, I don't even know if lack of a better term, cooler data presented in a different way, but there's certain things we have to be careful about. And so, but we are looking to add those to our website the best that we can, legally. But yeah, some of the core data is in each individual local plan. But the deep down nitty gritty is not something we have on our website now. We'll try to get about as much of that as we probably can get on there. But there's certain stuff that we cannot put out there.
Spencer, Andy, is this going to enter our project manager process for any project to be a part of the scoring of a project if it meets recommendations of this plan?
I think it will. I think the high end network is going to be the key thing there, right? Is this project on the high end network is going to need to be a key or a point scoring, if you will, attribute.
Yeah, probably a part of that. There's like a safety component of it already, so just make it a part of that safety component.
Yeah, it'd be, in doing so, it'd be far cleaner, if you will, than any of the things that we've used in the past, which were sound nonetheless, but this is more robust and more well-rounded.
Any other questions? This is an action item that does require action. So what we're doing here, they're seeking adoption for the SS4A Regional Action Plan. So we need a motion to adopt the SS4A Regional Action Plan.
I make that motion to adopt the SS4A Regional Action Plan.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Any other questions for Mr. Spencer? If not, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next is item number 6 on our agenda. This is an amendment to the fiscal year 2025-2028 Transportation Improvement Program and the Connecting Kentuckiana Metropolitan Transportation Plan. Okay. Brady, you have that for us.
We do. Greg's pulling it up, and in just a second, I will show the QR code and link to where you can follow along with the projects in the amendment as I go through them. That QR code and link is also in your meeting packets under the memo associated with this agenda item as well. There is that QR code for you and the link. I'll leave it there for just a second before I continue. This is the first amendment to the fiscal year 25 through fiscal year 28 TIP and the 10th amendment to KIPTA's NTP, Connecting Kentuckiana 2050.
This amendment includes 41 project updates, 15 of which required air quality conformity. There's also some updates to the tip via this amendment that are changes to the air quality status section in chapter 7 of the tip, which I'll talk a little bit about more in a minute. Kipta had our public comment period and received several comments and points of feedback via this amendment, some of which Greg already talked about in his public comment agenda item earlier. Amendments typically take 3 to 4 months. Some they can take up to 6 months. Require a typical time frame, as you can see here, where there's a deadline. Staff reviews the projects. Air quality analysis is performed as necessary. We have a public review period. Then that amendment is taken to get those committees, which we are in that stage now. And then after approval by the TPC, our federal agencies have around 30 days usually to review the amendment for air quality conformity. At that point, it then becomes official. This amendment 1, so the process began June 20th. We've gone through all the steps I just outlined, and we are here today to review for TPC action. All right. Just a quick review of amendments, what they were for and what they apply for. So there are 4 main kind of categories that require a project to go through an amendment. One is if you're adding or removing federally funded a federally funded project or project phases that are in the project is regionally significant and the project is not eligible for inclusion via administrative modification. That could be because there are some substantive changes to the design or scope of the project. Could be that the project cost is increasing at such a rate that it triggers an amendment for public review. And it could be that the changes associated with the project may affect the air quality conformity determination. So it has to go through the air quality analysis that is required in amendments. All right, and this is the air quality status section revision that I mentioned that was requested by Kentucky DAQ. These adjustments are basically clarifying language to this section of the tip. There's nothing inherently wrong with what we had in the original tip documentation, to my understanding, nothing that was like against federal regulations or anything. It was just upon review of our original tip, we got some comments that a few things could be clarified, specifically some narrative updates in this chapter and enhancements to figures 23 and 24. And so KIPTA received that feedback from Kentucky DAQ, as well as LMA PCD. And that section has been revised and is included in this amendment. And into the projects. So we'll start with some NDOT projects. These 3 new projects that are exempt. NDOT projects, there are no Indiana LPA projects in this amendment. There go into the KYTC projects. The projects here include the remaining NEVI projects and a few HSIP projects that are through the KYTC's Highway Safety Office that have been added. And there's also one of the safety projects, Kentucky Highway 2054, is updating the number of signals, intersection signals in the description. So it's a small scope change, and that's included in here as well as the new project. Additional Kentucky projects, most of which are also KYTC projects. They are the KYTC ones, those are HSIP projects in Jefferson County, and also some Kentucky Highway 44 projects with SPP funding adjustments. that aligns with the enacted Kentucky Highway Plan. This list of projects, these are also all KYC projects that you see here. They are new projects on I-71, Kentucky Highway 1526, Kentucky Highway 245, and US 31 East Parstown Road. So, projects added here. Some additional KYC projects. The top one you can see is adding a new project and updating an existing project on Kentucky Kentucky Highway 22 to align with the state highway plan. That's the top couple of projects you see there, or aligning with the state highway plan. And then we're adding a new project on Kentucky Highway 362. And we're re-adding TIP funding with NHS dollars to an I-64 improvement project that goes from the Kennedy interchange to I-264. And then the last few on this list, the last three, are adding new projects on US 42, US 31, and I-264 near the Breckenridge and Dutchman intersection. And if you'll remember that very last one, that's a new project on I-264 near Dutchman Blaines intersection. If we go to the next slide here, the top one is removing basically the same project that was in our tip. That was Louisville Metro government sponsored, but so we're adding it KYDC, a new project that's sponsored by KYDC, but it's the same project essentially. We're just swapping them out. Next one is the next few projects. Let's see. They are updates to funding for these projects had state TA and CMAQ funds that were really old and they weren't programmed in our TIP, and so we are updating the funding for these projects to include these old TA and CMAQ dollars into these projects. It's the Ohio River projects I'm looking at here, specifically in the LaGrange Road pedestrian facilities project as well, included in that category. And then lastly, down at the bottom, the Shelby Park Smoketown Traffic Calming Project is building off the Preston Corridor Plan and the Logan Shelby two-way conversion project, and that project will be funded with earmarked funds. These are all, by the way, these are all local metro projects that we're looking at this last slide. And one more slide here. These are all TARC projects. One of them is new. The other three are just updates to TIP funding. And are projects under the parent project 585, all four of these. And that's all that I have, unless there's any questions. Action would be requested, two actions, one action on TIP update, or the amendment 1 to the TIP, and another action on amendment 10 to the MTP.
Okay, as Brady's mentioned, this is an action item that we must address. And so the first one is amendment number 1 to the Transportation Improvement Program. We need a motion, it's actually a resolution for the amendment number 1 of the fiscal year 2025, fiscal year 2028 Transportation Improvement Program. Need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
A second? Any other questions? If none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign. Motion carried. Thank you very much. Then the next one is a resolution, which is an amendment number 10 to Connecting Kentuckiana, and that's the 2050. I'm sorry, Connecting Kentuckiana 2050, which is the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. It is a resolution. Need a motion to accept this resolution. A motion, we have a second?
Second.
You have a second? Any other questions? If none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All in favor then, thank you very much. That resolution is accepted. Thank you.
We will pass those resolutions on to Federal Highways, Kentucky office, later this afternoon.
Then next we have, item number 7, and this is the Indiana cost increases. You've got that also, Mr. Brady.
On July 31st, we held the summer, quarterly NPO dedicated review meeting with our Indiana sponsors over in Fort County. And went through our typical process of reviewing the NPO dedicated projects on Brooks, what the status of the projects are. In fiscal year 26, there aren't that many projects. There are a few programs that we have each year, with our, with our Vanpool program, as well as the, full metro.
Airport.
Care program as well. So a couple of programs and a couple of projects, but it's mostly dominated by the Bridge 51 project from the county that is looking to letting this fall around October, I believe is the most recent update I have heard for that project. We discussed those projects and also discussed the remaining funding that was available in fiscal year 26 that still needed to be programmed to projects. The amount that was available is the number you see there. It's the $1.8 million of federal funds. We came to a recommendation that was brought to the TPCC a couple of weeks ago. That number you can see there, and that recommendation is to program the majority of the available funds, $1,733,076 federal dollars to that Bridge 51 construction phase, KIPT ID 1558, in order to get them to an 80-20 match split, so that Floyd County is not overburdened. This is a particularly important project that hits a lot of our LPAs from the Indian region. So that was determined to be the priority project where most of the money would go to. The remaining funds would be $142,733 to go to the PE phase for Clark County's CR 311 and Sellers Spring Improvements project. That project is also received other KIPTA funds for PE. This would be in addition to their existing funds to help them get closer to an 80-20 match of what they're expecting their total cost of PE to be. Unfortunately, that's all the money that we had remaining, so we had a couple other requests for projects as well, but based on the discussion at this quarterly meeting, the two other projects, Progress Way request and Craybrook Lane extensions request, were deemed to be lower priorities than these two projects here. So unless there are questions, recommendation would be to have an action to approve the proposed Indiana cost increases as presented.
Okay. So, as stated, this is an action item to approve the Indiana cost increases as described, and that was option C on here, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah,
That's what it looked like it labeled there, so, okay.
yes.
Are there any questions? If none, then need a motion to approve the Indiana cost increases as recommended in option C as presented. Any other questions? If none, I need a motion. A motion? Second. Any other questions? If none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Both like sign. Motion carried. Thank you very much. Okay. Next is item 8. Shift 2026 boost. You have that, Spencer.
Thank you. So everybody in the room has one of these packets. Everybody online, I updated the Excel spreadsheet. I finished uploading this morning. The differences between what people saw at TTCC and this sheet are, I went ahead and included all the projects that were state priorities. And then all the projects that were only boosted by District 5. So, just to clarify, what we're gonna be voting to approve today are essentially all the projects that either say KIPTA boost on or both boost. So KIPTA got 18 boost. Earlier this month, a TPCC working group met. And we deliberated for a few hours over which projects we wanted to boost. So we sponsored 91 projects, 92 projects back in April, early May. And that was the first cut, and the deep cut was the boosting phase. So we had to whittle that 91 down to 18. State helped us a little bit. The ones that were state priorities kind of get placed in a separate scoring like system, so we don't have to worry about boosting those. So like in Bullitt County, there were a couple of state priorities. In Oldham, there were 4. In Jefferson, there were 7. You'll see that in those last columns. And then AYTC District 5 also boosted like 27 projects. That's not right, Tom? Right. Yeah, 27 projects around the District 5 region, which also includes Franklin County. And then KIPTA boosted some. Projects got double boosted. So like you'll see on that bullet project on the front page, that third one, they boosted it and we also boosted it. So it went from 59 points, 59.07 was the score it had from the AYPC ship process. Now as a 79.07, it's out of 100 points. So the 3 that KIPTA boosted in Bullitt County were the Reconstruct Kentucky 44 from 31EX 31E bypass. And then the bottom 2, widen 245 and improve safety and reduce congestion on Kentucky 1450. In Oldham County, we also did. We did 3 as well. So, we did improving the design for Dale Smith Road, Kentucky 393, reconstructed the railroad crossing. And then that one in yellow, improve safety and reduce congestion on 53 from I-71 to Jefferson Smith Road. And then Jefferson County, we had, right, well, so we chose over US 31E, reduce congestion, improve safety, enhance mobility. The one right below that, another US 31 project. I don't know why the description got cut off there, I apologize.
That one is lacking description. I've got a separate list that has it, for those that are wondering. It's US 31W, the second project on, in yellow. The project's description says to address congestion, mobility, and safety on US 31W from Kentucky 44 to Kentucky 841 in southern Jefferson County. It goes on to say some of the attributes of it, that Dixie Highway in extreme southwest Jefferson County is where that project is.
And then another US 31 project from between Greenwood Road and Stone Street. Both got a boost on US 42. It's a roadway reconfiguration, 1-way to 2-way conversion. Both boosts on the next 2 down below, those 2 blue ones. That was on improved First Warren Parkway to Shoulder Road intersection and widen US 60 to 6 lanes from Old Shoulder Road to North English Station Road. The next two yellow ones were both KIPTA boost. That is ITS strategies on various roads around, for various corridors on US 60. So there's a bunch of them on there, the big description. And then there's an improved safety and relieve congestion at 5061 on Preston Highway. Extended Plantside Drive from Railroad, Dozer Road. Widen Dozer Road from 3 lanes from I-265 to Kentucky 148. widens southbound Hurstbourne Lane to 3 lanes from Lynn Station to Eden Avenue. Let's see. And then the last one, we're boosting in Jefferson County area safety improvements on 1865, so New Pet Road. From just south of Old New Pet Road to just north of the active system building. So. Those are all the projects that the working group decided to boost, and then like I said, once again, you can see all the projects on there that are state priorities that we don't have to worry about at the. Local district office level or at the MPO level, and then there's also a handful that only KYTC District 5 listed.
Once they get boosted, I think that's part of the story to tell here is these projects we'll submit them to central office KYTC by early September, the due date. And at that point, all the scores will be in the books, so to speak. And then it'll move on to the next phase of the shift process, which ultimately culminates later this year with the KYTC's recommended highway plan that the transportation cabinet put together. And then with the ultimate eye on sometime in like springtime, the enacted highway plan in spring 26.
Does anyone have any questions? This is an action item that requires approval, and so need a motion then to accept the recommended boost projects of the shift process in development of the Kentucky Highway Plan. Do I have that motion? Motion a second. Second. Any other questions? If none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up is item number 9, administrative modifications. Brady, you have that far, thank you.
Two administrative modifications to present today. Administrative modification 2 was shared with the TPC and was submitted to NDOT and KYTC for STIP. Be added to the STIP on July 29th, 2025. And admin mod 3 was just recently went through the same process. Submitted with the TPC and NDOT and KYTC for STIP for addition to the STIP August 26th, 2025. There was no TPC meeting in July, so Chris didn't have an opportunity to present admin mod 20 or admin mod 2 to you at that time, and so I'm going to present both. As a reminder, admin mods do not require TPC approval, so this is just an information only presentation for you. Admin mods are much quicker than amendments to administer, and are suitable for minor qualifying project changes. It does our best to try to get project changes completed as quickly as possible as it meets the federal requirements that we must meet with the tenant. And those are various qualifying criteria for administrative modification. Admin mod 2 summary. The first few projects you see on here are NDOT projects. They include a new signal modernization project and funding updates to get the ID 3362 and 3157. The next few on here are KYTC projects that include new traffic signal equipment in school zone safety projects, as well as update to tip funding. Oh, that's and then the last one on here is the University of Louisville project. It's skipped ID 2982. There was an error in the previous update to this project where the utility phase should have shown 2026, but it actually showed 2025. And so this amendment corrects that error to put the utility phase in fiscal year 26. And the next admin mod 3 summary. These are all of the NDOT sponsored projects that were in admin mod 3. There were several of them here. Many of them are projects that are re-entering funding into TIP years. So all of the ones that are blocked together, they had project phases that were previously in the fiscal years outside the TIP years, like 2030, for example. And NDOT is wanting to bring these projects into the TIP years so that they can complete them sooner. That requires being added to the TIP again, requires sometimes would require an amendment process, but because all these projects fit within the maintenance for project category, they're able to be added via administrative modification in these particular cases. And then other projects on here are updates to the funding as well, and some phase shifts for fiscal year funding. There were a couple changes, updates that were made to the draft of admin mod 3 that were made after the draft was included in your packet for the meeting, but are included in the final version of admin mod 3 that's already been sent out to KYC and NDOT and these updates include KIPTA ID 2972. The total cost and total program is now $2,140,103 due to adjustments to older funding. And then aside from the first NDOT project listing 2972, the open public date was updated from 2030 to 2028. Most of those projects, those are the ones I just mentioned that are re-entering in the TIP years. They're moving construction funding from 2030 to 2026. And both the total cost and total program for KIPTA ID 2899 was changed to $2,215,883,686. In the final packet, that's down from a larger number that was in your draft, basically because there was some Chris realized there was some duplicate funding. There was associated with a different DES number. And so this number here is the more accurate representation of that project for the total cost estimate and the total program. Okay, and these are the remaining projects that are in admin mod 3. There's a few Indiana LPA projects and one KYTC sponsored project. The three Indiana ones involve 2 Clark County projects that have some funding updates, as well as a Sellersburg project that has a phase shift and open public date adjustment. And then the KYTC sponsored project is a new project, high resolution data collection project for the HSIP office. That is all that I have. Action requested unless there's any questions.
Are there any questions? If none, thank you very much for that information. Next item on our agenda is item number 10, which is a participation plan. And Greg, you have the information on that.
Yes, just wanted to let everyone know that it is that time for us to update our participation plan. I would do that every 4 years. Folks that don't know, this is essentially the playbook for how and why and where the public has a seat at the table to be involved with the transportation planning process. So this will be a minor update. We're just going to do some language updating, probably change a little bit of graphics out, some things like that. It won't be anything major. The plan is to seek adoption at November TPC. It will go to the public toward the end of September, as long as the chair does not have any objections to that. The plan will be September 22nd, has to run 45 days into the public. And then at that point, we'll send it for a 7-day review if we receive any comments for the TPC to review, just like we do for an amendment. And then, like I said, we'll seek adoption in November. But anybody has, if they've looked through the plan, they see anything that they feel like they want to provide input towards me, I'm very open to that. Feel free to email me those suggestions, but that's the plan right now.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Greg. Is there any other business to be presented?
Got a couple items, if I might, real quick, of other business. One regarding the Indiana STIP, we are learned this morning that should be live any day now. So those that were on the line that have projects that are eagerly awaiting the NDOT STIP approval, it sounds like that's live very, very soon, or get the federal approval very, very soon. I want to recognize Deputy Mayor Nicole George, who joined us right after the roll call, and thanks for joining us, Nicole. Also, Mike King from Louisville Metro. Mike, thank you for joining us. KYTC, Tracy Lovell, and then from NDOT, Mr. Tony McClellan and Kathy McCall. Thank you all for joining us.
Nick Creamy.
And Nick, yes, I have Nick on my list. I'm sorry, Nick. Nick Creedy from Floyd County. So we had pretty darn close to perfect attendance today. Thank you all for being here. And then one last thing I want to mention is just a little bit of an update of what we've been up to. A couple weeks ago, myself and Chief District Engineer Matt Bullock from KYTC, we went to St. Paul, Minnesota at an AMPO Association of Metropolitan Planning Organizations, AASHTO, American Association of State Highway Transportation Officials, or something like that. I think I have it right. Joint meeting. The meeting was about how can MPOs and state DOTs work together better. Okay, that was the nature of the meeting. Lots of examples of that meeting were how the Minnesota DOT, remember we're in St. Paul, Minnesota DOT works so well, or pretty well anyways, with their MPO. Their MPO is called the Met Council, Metropolitan Council. Learned a lot about the Metropolitan Council. One of the things I learned is that they have, believe it or not, 6,000 people work for the Metropolitan Council. They, unlike KIPTA, the reason that most of those 6,000, by the way, are operators of the transit system in the Twin Cities area. Okay, so they've got a lot of transit operators there. I seem to also learn that it seems like in other states, the MPOs and the state DOTs don't get as along as well as I think we do with the two states around here. So that was good to know. It's also they fight the same battles we do. I think that's another thing that we didn't need to learn is that getting the fair share in the big city. Minnesota's a rural state, but they have 50 to 60% or 70% even of their population is in that Twin Cities area. And so it's kind of the same thing going on in Kentucky and Indiana, right? There's some big cities, Louisville, Indianapolis, in these two states, and getting the rural urban balance right. So that was very interesting. A meeting that was hosted by AASHTO. And also, I want to mention that Brady and myself will be in a couple of weeks at the AMPO annual conference. KIPTA is a new member to AMPO, relatively new member to AMPO, Association of MPOs again. We'll be in Providence, Rhode Island here in a couple of weeks. So if there's anything anybody wants us to, especially pursue and seek out guidance from you guys, we're open-minded to listen to anything you all have to say, suggestion-wise, to say, hey, how those other MPOs do that. We'll be up there networking and learning from those others. So that concludes my other business report.
Okay. Anyone else have anything else to present? If not, entertain a motion to adjourn. A motion, second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Bye.